Well, welcome back to the Flick and the Bozman show. If it's your first time here, welcome. If you've put up with us before, welcome back. And a little GTR there. How's it going, Boz?
It's going great. Like I thought you'd appreciate that pick. That's going back a little ways. 1986.
I was trying to think if it had something to do with today or the moment, or I don't know about hearts ruling minds right now, but
Yeah, there wasn't anything to it. Just for a great intro, a power punch it up kind of thing.
well, we got it, and we got some stuff going on in the sports world. Maybe at least some leagues are setting up. The NHL has come up with a couple cities to host some games, and the NBA maybe going down to Disney to have their what do teams play? 7, 8 games. The ones that are maybe going no further, but then some playoffs and. Baseball has come up with a 60 game solution.
And the thing that should surprise no one, and yet somehow I'm still surprised and amazed, is that baseball is the one sport where no one is excited that they're back. Like they somehow screwed this up. Like NBA's, hey, NBA fans are great. This is great. The playoffs, the players are ready to go. The NHL, same. Baseball's like, how are we going to repair our image from this? What? We're
Well,
back.
I will say a lot of NBA players seem to be bowing out. I mean, there are some in baseball as well, but teams that aren't going to be in the playoffs or most likely won't get very far in the playoffs, they seem to be losing a player or two a day. And eventually, I may have to suit up at point guard for one of these teams.
But yeah, right. But that's not an issue of the league and the players at each other's throats. That's an issue of
True,
this
true.
player has a question about his own safety or his family's safety, and that's how it should have played out in every sport. It's people are dying here, and we're trying to get some entertainment. We're trying to get our minds distracted from the latest disaster that's engulfing this country. I guess the coronavirus isn't the latest now. It's been eclipsed by the race riots and the George Floyd situation. But nevertheless, we could use something that's not negative, and baseball turned it negative somehow. It's just bewildering. Anyway, I don't know.
Anyway, when they had a chance to do it well and have some huge ratings and have some optimistic views and some positivity, they've managed to screw it all up.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, Emma, you've been doing it like that for 100 years. So what are you gonna do?
It does seem like it. Well, I'll let you decide where to start. We've lined up some impossible trivia for you, and also we have 4 more matchups in our Game 7 tournament. So, where do you want to start?
We got to start. I think we got to do two of the matchups, and then the trivia, and then
Well, you're making it complicated, but okay.
if
Um,
there's a way to complicate things,
I'm up for it, and we have some of our experts have already voted. Tim Grasso, Kevin Hall already put their votes in. The internet's been a buzz voting for these. One of the votes almost got into double digits.
well,
So, and I'll I'll let you pick. We got a 1-8, a 2-7, 3-6, 4-5 matchup. I'll let you say which one you want to talk about first.
I honestly don't know which matchup is which as far as by the seedings. I have them in order.
All right, which matchup did you think was the closest in your mind?
Which matchup was the closest in my mind? Uh, probably the uh, probably the Isles Pens and the Cards
There
Met.
you go. I think that was the toughest, and your vote's going to make the difference here. So we got the Game 7 of the Patrick Division playoffs, where the Islanders were able to beat the Penguins 4-3 in overtime. And that's taking on one of my least favorite games, but certainly a dramatic Game 7. The NLCS, where the Cardinals defeated the Mets by a score of 3-1. So take it
Oh,
away, Dave.
yes, and I had to chuckle when you told me about the Isles Pens series that it was, I think, the Patrick division. I'm like, Patrick division? How old is that game? But it's not that. It's not as old as I
Not,
thought. It's only 27 years ago. It just
yeah,
means that.
93. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, I mean, the Pens have been coming off. I'll start with the hockey, since I started with it with the great Patrick division. The Pens have been back-to-back champions in '91 and '92, and it was Mario and Yager and Stevens, and that was a great team. Um, and this was a series that after they wouldn't get back to the hoisting the cup for until 2009. After this, which isn't actually, by Pittsburgh standards, that long a drought, comparing it to the Pirates, that is. Nevertheless, so the game starts out. It was a good series, but the game started out with the Pens scoring first, and then the Islanders tied it, and then the Islanders scored twice. Did I have that right? Did I get that backwards? Yeah, the Pens scored first, right? Uh,
Yeah, there was a 2-goal differential at some
yeah,
point in there.
so the Islanders scored to make it 3-1. The Pens tie it with 2 goals, and they score their last the game tying goal with a minute to go, with the goalie pulled.
Pulled goalie, yeah.
Yep, yep. And then the Isles got one in overtime to win it and to send Lemieux and his cohorts back to Pittsburgh. Actually, not sure if that was in Pittsburgh or not. Now that I think about it, nevertheless, send them home for the summer, and they could finally shave those awful playoff beards. So great game. I watched some of the highlights of it again today just to refresh my memory on it. Great team. Obviously, again, the Penguins. Islanders did not advance much further than that, but they did make a good series of that. Looking at the Cards and the Mets, this was, as you said, kind of heartbreaker for the Mets. The two memorable things in that, or three, I guess. One, obviously, the Andy Chavez game-saving catch in the sixth inning. Oliver Perez giving up the long fly ball, and Andy Chavez reaching high over the left center field fence in front of the AIG sign, if you recall, with the strength to be there. And then they were out of business the next year, nearly. And then doubling Roland off first base. I'm sorry, it was Roland's hit, doubling Edmonds off first base. Um, and and then so it stayed like that. 1-1 until the ninth. Heilman gives up the 2-run homer to Yadier Molina. Mets were able to load the bases in the bottom of the ninth, but our probable Hall of Famer Carlos Beltran, and he will probably go into the Hall of Fame as a Met, at least statistically. He had his most good years and his most of his best years as a Met, but infamously takes that called third strike to end the series, a series that would propel the Cardinals, who I think had 83 or 85 wins, I think, on the season, to go on and win the World Series that year, which I always felt like the Mets almost certainly would have won also had they advanced.
You're making it more depressing.
Nevertheless, yes, I think I'm going to. I'm a little bit back and forth. I don't want to be accused of bias in one way direction or the other. I honestly don't have a lot of bias in it as I'm thinking about it. The heartbreaking loss for the Mets is what it is, but the Cards do win the World Series. The Islanders did not go on to fame and fortune. That was an early round game. It did end the Penguins' run there of back-to-back, trying to make it 3 straight. So I think just based on sort of the import and the overall yeah, I guess import is the right word I was looking for, of the series, to give the edge to the Cardinals in this one and have them advance.
So you're taking the baseball over the hockey here, and that will be enough to send the Mets Cardinals into the next round of this tournament.
You would love nothing better than to discuss the Mets losing in heartbreaking fashion again.
Yeah, we'll have to discuss it again. I went the other way, but what wasn't enough for the
Why'd you go the
victory
other way?
here. What's that?
Why'd you go the other way?
Like you just said, Pittsburgh winning three in a row would have put a lot of comparisons between them and some of the teams like Edmonton and the Islanders who won a bunch in a row. Uh, that the Islanders were able to prevent them from doing that. It was a back and forth game. It was in Pittsburgh. It was at the Igloo, one of the last huge games at the Igloo. But just a lot going for it there. And, that Mets Cardinals series, maybe as a whole, wasn't as great of a series. Game seven certainly was good. I could have gone either way. I just didn't feel like talking about the Mets more, but now I'll have to.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, overtime, we talked about it a lot. Overtime hockey, playoff hockey, there's nothing quite as exciting as that. If it had been a later round, if it had been to get into the Stanley Cup or in the Stanley Cup, that's a hand down winner.
Yeah, I agree with you there. That was the dilemma. If it
Yep,
was a finals, yeah, sure.
yep, that was to me the deciding factor. So I'll take the Cards and try to forget who they beat.
Well, we'll find out their opponent in the next round of this Game Seven tournament, and that will be a baseball hockey matchup as well. And it is our four seed, a World Series 2016, the Cubs Indians Game Seven, which was an 8-7 final, and some Eastern Conference hockey with the Devils beating Florida 3-2. And I will break it to you that your vote is not going to make the difference here. Very sorry about that.
That's quite all right. I'm looking at this matchup. I'm a little bit at a loss to say much terribly exciting about this. It was obviously the Cubs Indian series was amazing, and the game seven for the Devils, not just overtime hockey, double overtime hockey, game seven, awesome stuff. This was, if I'm not mistaken, Bredeur's last hurrah as far as a playoff run with the Devils. Um, and so that does get it a little bit of weight to it. Um, and Adam Henrique with the first game goal and then the game-winning goal in double overtime, as the Devils had gone up two goals to none, and then the Panthers came back to tie it in the third, two goals in the third. So great game, and a great series there. A little bit of import again because it was Bredeur's last big playoff run. I think the
Yeah,
Devils final.
in 2012, if I didn't say the year. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
thank you. Right. They got to the finals that year and lost. Um, but great career, obviously Hall of Fame career, arguably the best goalie in the history of the NHL. Um, and on the other side, you have quite simply an epic matchup. Uh, the Cubs and the Indians. The two dates you have to know, right? Is the Indians hadn't won since 1948, and the Cubs hadn't won since 1908. So it'd been a little while for both franchises. Cleveland had gone up 3-1 in the series. Uh, the Cubs relied way too much on Chapman. He pitched 2.2 innings in their Game 5 win, which was a close win. Then he pitched another one in the third inning in Game 6 when the Cubs were up 7-2 at the
You're giving
time.
me decimals, fractions. This is a lot of math here.
You're the one that's good at math. They stay with.
Oh,
Uh, so that's if you're counting it, if you're scoring at home, to paraphrase my favorite Keith Olbermann, that's 4 innings for a relief pitcher in 2 games, and then he comes back to pitch the eighth inning in Game 7, and it was the eighth inning that did him in, not the ninth inning. Strangely enough, he did stay in there to pitch the ninth and pitched a 1-2-3 ninth, Chapman. But it was Brandon Geyer and Rajai Davis. Uh,
Yeah,
Geyer with a run scoring hit to make it from 6-3 to 6-4, and then Rajai Davis with a two run homer rather, off of Chapman to tie it. Um, and then the Cubs got two in the top of the 10th. Shaw was the one who had pitched the ninth and then stayed into the 10th, and he couldn't get it done. They had to bring in Trevor Bauer to finish the 10th, but it was already too late. Geyer and Davis tried to make it a game in the bottom of the 10th. Uh, Geyer they got made it 8-7, but couldn't get any closer. With Mike Montgomery finally getting the last out of the
yeah, of
series.
all people, yeah.
Ending was 108 years of futility for the Cubs.
Yeah, I voted that way too. So did our experts. So did the internet. Clean sweep for the Cubs here over Devils.
What are you doing? I didn't say which way I was voting.
Oh, I gave it. Okay.
I'm just giving you a hard time. Of course, I'm voting.
Yeah, I thought you were going that way. No, I know you. Yeah, I guess you didn't officially tell me. I don't know Dave's votes until he tells me on our recordings. But I thought you'd go that way. And baseball with 2 wins and hockey with 2 losses so far today.
When you're talking about combined 186 years of futility,
Yeah, that's God. If
probably
anything, I seated that too low,
yeah.
making it.
That's what I was thinking. Definitely that to me is going to be a hard out. Let's just say
And
that.
the Devils have some great Game Sevens, wins and losses. As a Devils fan, my favorite Game 7 win for theirs might have been their victory over Ottawa of all teams in a Game 7. So we'll see if that pops up later on in our brackets.
A little foreshadowing there.
A little foreshadowing that if that one's there, I'll vote for it because to see a team, Ottawa was just crushed with that loss. That they were home and lost to what they thought was. I don't even know if I want to say an inferior Devils team. They just thought they were the best team in the league, and they probably were that year. So
Yeah.
rough, rough loss for them. They were just so down at the end of that game, and you could. They were spilling their guts on the ice. But great series there. But anyway, the winners here. The National League Championship Series, the Cardinals beating the Mets by a score of 3-1, advances in our Game 7 tournament. And if this is your first time listening, what we're doing is from 1960 on, we picked 32 and actually had a play-in round. So we had 48, I believe, possible Game 7s from 1960 on, from baseball, from hockey, and from basketball. And we're seeing what was the most dramatic, exciting Game 7 since then. And that Cardinals series defeating the Mets will advance, as will the World Series of the Cubs beating the Indians in 2016. Ready? And you said you wanted to do 2 and then shift to trivia. So this is highly unusual, but I can handle it. I got stuff here. So
All right.
you ready to give the trivia a try?
Absolutely. I have been studying all night.
Studying all night for questions you don't know what they'll be.
Exactly.
All
Just going
right.
in general on things trivial.
I threw in a lot of this date in sports history type trivia, and I wasn't sure if we'd be recording yesterday or today. So your very first one is on this date in 1978, but it's from June 30th. So we're a day old already. But I want to know what major leaguer hit their 500th career home run on June 30th, 1978.
1978 hit his 500th career home run. Let's see. Trying to think of the guys who had 500. Reggie would have probably hit his much later. Yastrzemski played a bunch more years after that. Um, who could that be? Ernie Banks was retired by then, I'm pretty sure. Hank Aaron obviously was well past that. Willie Mays was retired. I'm going to go with Ernie Banks. I don't have a better guess than that.
Ernie
Yeah.
Banks. Ernie Banks. How many guys do you think have done it? Legally or illegally?
How many guys have ever had 500? Oh, God, it's got to be up to about 38 by now.
I believe you're about 10 or 11 high.
There you go.
So there are 27 guys who have done it.
Aha.
14 right-handed, 11 left-handed, and 2 switch hitters.
I can tell you the 2 switch hitters. That helps you at all.
Anything helps me. If Ernie Banks helps anyone out there trying to go 6 for 6, we can only wonder at this point.
I am sure that neither one of these is the right answer to your question, but it's Eddie Murray and Mickey Mantle.
Neither one would be. So we're down to 25 guys.
There you go. What more?
How long could you be?
And I eliminated Jackson and Yastrzemski for you, so you're down to 23.
You're down to 23 guys. How helpful can you be? It's only
exactly.
All right. We'll move it to more baseball trivia, and we're going to talk about Joe DiMaggio.
Joltin' Joe.
And when he got a hit in his 44th straight game, whose record did he tie?
He tied Honus Wagner's.
Honus Wagner. Nice. So your answers so far are to baseball immortals, Ernie Banks and Honus Wagner.
How about that?
Whether either or both of them are correct, we'll find out. Well, we won't find out unless you send your answers to us at flickbaz@yahoo.com, and you can win our admiration for going 6 for 6. All right.
That is certainly priceless.
Priceless.
It is.
We got more of this date in his sports history trivia, but now we're going to July 1. And a walk-off home run was hit on this date on July 1st, 2013, and it was an inside the park home run. And it was done by a San Francisco Giant who at least once played for your New York Mets. Who was that San Francisco Giant?
I had a great guess until that last part. Dang it. At one time before that, played for the Mets. Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying he at least played for the Mets once.
It could have been after that.
It could have been. Could have been both.
Could have been both. All right. Well, my guesses included people who had never played for the Mets, nor had ever been in my kitchen. So I'm going to have to say
this person played for the Mets from 2008 to 2011.
Thank you very much. That is somewhat helpful, but not terribly. 2008 to 2011.
Yes. And then went to the San Francisco Giants from 2012 to 2016.
That is highly significant.
Highly.
I'm going to say Hunter Pence.
Hunter Pence. Hunter Pence.
Don't ask me when he played for the Mets.
All-time great Met. Hunter. When I think Mets, I think Hunter Pence, of course.
Exactly. Just keep it moving. You don't want a lot of dead air.
If you're emailing your answers, you may not always want to listen to the Bozman.
I can tell you that's probably a safe bet.
All right, question 4. We're going to the great year, you'll remember it well, of 1916. And he became the oldest player to hit an inside the park home run.
More inside the park home run shenanigans.
A lot of inside the park home run trivia today. We'll be done with. In fact, this is our 4th baseball question. It is our last baseball question.
The oldest player to hit an inside the park home run had to have been Willie Keeler.
Willie Keeler. Do you need the "we" to get credit for?
You do. It is.
You do. Good nickname, though. You gotta hand it to him. That's a good nickname.
What was his first name?
Willie was. I'm not positive.
Like Meatloaf. Loaf is Meat's last name. You have to get it right. It's Mr. Loaf.
Mr. Loaf.
That is a fact. You can look that up.
Question 5. You earlier in the week stole my question of who had the most NFL wide receiver receptions in a single season. So I had to modify it to who is the active wide receiver receptions leader in the NFL.
The active wide receiver, most career receptions by for one player who is still active.
Still active.
I want to say Wes Welker, but I'm fairly sure he's retired. So I'm not going to say Wes Welker, although I've now said it twice. But that's not going to be my guess.
Not your guess. Wes Welker, not your guess.
It is not Wes Welker.
You had a lot of W's in your last guess. You may not.
Billy Wheeler.
At least I laughed. Maybe nobody else laughed, but I laughed.
Thank you. That's why I love you so. Active career.
Making me laugh for nearly 40 years. Here he is.
Yes.
The boss.
I'll be here all the week. The answer is, of course, Jeremy Shockey. Oh, no, that's not right.
Laugh again.
Yeah, there you go. It is not a New York Giant. It is not Odell Beckham Jr. It's going to be somebody who is a little bit older, a little bit wiser. It's going to be AJ Green.
AJ Green.
I'm going to scratch that. Larry Fitzgerald is here.
I just scratched it. I just scratched it. Who? Larry Fitzgerald. Oh, Larry Fitzgerald. If you're doing one of those Scantrons and you had it and you don't want to, but okay, we crossed out AJ Green and we are going with Larry Fitzgerald. Officially. All right, you got one question to go.
By the way, parenthetically, I think you could make an argument that Larry Fitzgerald, with as bad of quarterbacks as he's played with in his career, is clearly the best wide receiver ever.
Ever. He played with Kurt Warner.
No one throwing. How many years did he play with Kurt Warner? Like 3. And he's been great every year. I'm making that up. I don't know how many years he played with Kurt Warner.
But just throwing stats out there.
I'm throwing out a random guess too. So,
who's throwing to him now?
If you look at the quarterbacks that have been throwing balls to him, it's amazing that he's caught all the balls he's caught. Because they stink, other than Kurt Warner.
Will they come in last in their division this year?
Uh, um, yeah, I think they will.
Okay. All right. I would agree. Tough division, but I would agree.
To get, I mean, the NFL is so much parity these days. They could easily win the division. I wouldn't.
Yes. I'm sure you were watching some golf this weekend, correct?
Of course, I watched twice as much golf as I did last weekend.
Yes. Dustin Johnson was the winner of the tournament this weekend,
Huh?
and it is his 13th consecutive season with at least one victory. Two gentlemen had victories in 17 consecutive years. I'm going to need you to name both golfers who won tournaments in 17 consecutive years.
17 consecutive years. I think you got to go way, way back.
Way back.
The way back machine.
We will a Keeler.
No, another alliteration though. Sam Snead.
Sam Snead and
And another alliteration. Arnold Palmer.
uh, that's a drink. What Arnold Palmer? Then everything you say will suddenly be alliterations if you have enough Arnold Palmers.
No, that's the John Daly's.
Ah, yes, yes, the
Yeah,
John Dale.
Arnold Palmer with Arthur.
So we'll just go through these very quickly to let our listeners know your official guesses. On June 30th, 1978, who hit their 500th home run? And the Bozman said Ernie Banks. When Joe DiMaggio got a hit in his 44th straight game, whose record did he tie? And Dave went with Honus Wagner. Who hit a walk-off inside the park home run for the San Francisco Giants in extra innings on this date, July 1st in 2013, and gave a hint that it's a former Met. And Boz capitalized on that and said Hunter Pence. And the fourth question, in 1916, he became the oldest player to hit an inside the park home run. And the guess is Wee Willie Keeler. And then after pondering AJ Green for a while, question 5, the active wide receiver receptions leader, Boz has said Larry Fitzgerald. And the two golfers with 17-year streaks of having at least one win, you have to get both of them for credit. And Dave has said Sam Snead and Arnold Palmer. Well done. I don't know if any are right, but well done. They're all guesses. They're all something.
They are all guesses.
They've all been written down. They're all very official. And that gets us back into the brackets. For the Game 7 bracket, we'll knock out these two. And hopefully, and probably not next time we talk, but soon we'll have some real sports to talk about, we hope. But for now, in our Game 7 tournament, we have a 1 seed. The 2016 NBA Finals with Cleveland. Yes, Cleveland winning a title. The Cavaliers 93 and the Golden State Warriors 89. And that's taking on a play-in winner. I mentioned we had some play-in games. The 68 World Series with the Tigers beating the Cardinals by a score of 4-1 in Game 7. So take it away, Dave.
So I'll start with the baseball in this one. 68 season was memorable as the year of the pitcher. Danny McLean won 30 games, the last time that anyone did that. Bob Gibson with a 1.12 ERA. Don't quote me on that. It's plus or is 1.1 something. And to me, still the telling statistic from that season is that with a 1.1 something ERA, Gibson lost 9 times that year. 9. He gave up just more than 1 run per game.
The kind of support DeGrom gets, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But that was emblematic of the entire season for the entire league, for both. Anyhow, so those are the two teams make in the matchup there, the Tigers and the Cardinals. uh, an epic World Series back and forth in terms of games, but Game 7, not a whole lot of drama. Um, Gibson gave up a 2-run triple in the 7th to Jim Northrup, and then Bill Freehan doubled in Northrup. And then the Tigers got another run in the 9th to make it 3-0. Bottom of the 9th, Cardinals got a 2-out home run to make it 3-1, and then McCarver popped up to end the game. And that was pretty much it. I mean, to me, that advances because of the names and sort of just the overall amazingness of the statistics and the pitching performances and so forth. Not a whole lot of drama, at least looking back on it. Obviously, this was a year before either of us was born. On the other side of the bracket, or going up against them, I guess I should say, you got the Warriors and what am I talking about here? The Cavs. Sorry,
The Cavs, yeah.
Looking
LeBron bounces around a little, yes.
it was LeBron, yes. So is the city of Cleveland's first championship since 1964. So a bit of a drought there that ended. And it interrupted what would have been 4 straight NBA titles by the Warriors, and really put a bit of a damper on their 73-win season, which they certainly they should have won. I mean, this is on paper a series that the Warriors should have won. I mean, LeBron is LeBron. Kevin Love was very good for that team also. How they came back from 3 games to 1, right? And I think it was the first time, if I have my trivia here correct, the first time since 1978 that a road team won Game 7 in the NBA Finals.
Okay, all right.
How about that?
Was 78 Portland?
No, 78 was your Washington Bullets
Beating Portland.
beating your Seattle Super. Portland was, I think, 77, if I'm not mistaken.
Not involved at all. Oh, well.
They were very good in that era, but it was not. That was not the year.
Was Lenny Wilkins involved in some way?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I think he may have been on that Supersonics team.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
Was
Bill Walton involved?
Bill Walton would have been on the Trailblazers, who was not involved.
I'm determined to get Portland involved in this series.
I think Steve Winwood may have been in there.
There was a higher love.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, I think you can probably tell from how I'm talking about it. The Cavs winning, breaking that long streak, that's huge. And then the long winless streak for the city of Cleveland, that was huge. And then interrupting what would have been 4 in a row for the Warriors, and putting a damper, if not to put it mildly, on that 73-win season for Golden State. Great series, and great players on both sides. So I'll take the Cavs over the Warriors that series to defeat the Tigers Cardinals in that bracket.
Well, I didn't tell you this whole time, and I'm glad I didn't, because it was great to hear you talk about both those series. You have now made this vote. This one, percentage-wise, is going to work out as 100-0, as the experts and me and the internet. We all went for the Cavs over Golden State, and you just polished it off for the Tigers. And the Cardinals series has gone bye-bye in our tournament. The 1 seed advances.
Well, yeah, that's not terribly surprising. I don't know if they deserve a 1 seed per se, but they certainly deserve to win that series. And no argument here, obviously, because I'd be arguing with myself.
in all our wacky game 7 matchups, I'm trying to think if this is the first one where everybody agreed,
I think you're
where our experts agreed. Well, you got it here. Well, we got one more to talk about, and I will tell you your vote is crucial here because not everybody agreed. So
I
we
find
got
that
a
honestly,
what's that? We got a 2 seed, the 75 World Series, where the Reds defeated the Red Sox 4-3, both in the game and in the series. And the 2010 NBA final with the Lakers beating the Celtics in another low scoring game 7, 83-79.
yeah, and this was a rematch of the '08 series that the Celtics had won. Uh, some great players on both sides: Pierce, Allen, Rondo, Garnett, Wallace for the Celtics. I had to say the whole name: Meta World Peace. I I'm not going to comment on that. Kobe Bryant, Pau Gasol, excuse me, uh, Fisher, Bynum, and Odom for the Lakers. Uh, great players on both sides. It was obviously Kobe's last championship, and this was a series that the Celtics. I thought it felt to me like they were going to win this one. They were up 6 at the half. They were up 4 at the end of the third quarter, and the Lakers just kept chipping away at them in the fourth, and ended up pulling it out. Um, Impressive win for the Lakers, and again a great team on both sides. Um, if there had been a huge epic game winning shot somewhere in the to me the 75 Sox and the Reds is legendary because of Game 6, and we're not
Yes.
talking about Game 6.
No.
However, uh, it does enter into the equation, right? It made that set up this amazing series final. Um, and it did have, Game 7 had some drama as well. Uh, the Red Sox, as I was looking it up and reminding myself of how, I was 6 years old at the time, so I certainly don't remember much of that series, if anything, except, from what I've seen on highlights. But the Red Sox got their 3 runs in the bottom of the third. Don Gullett started for the Reds and walked in 2 of the 3 runs. So not exactly, Fisk, waving the ball fair there. Uh,
No.
uh, the Reds got 2 back, and think of some of these names: Tony Perez with a two-run homer in the sixth. Pete Rose singles in Griffey in the seventh to tie it. Uh, and that was, to me, that was interesting. Bill the Spaceman Lee, was the starting pitcher for the Red Sox, and they pulled him with 1 out in the seventh, um, and probably an epically bad decision in Red Sox lore. And then the Reds got one in the ninth with Joe Morgan singling in Ken Griffey Sr. And the Red Sox went quietly in the bottom of the ninth. Uh, to me, I think I may be thinking a little bit too much of Fisk in Game 6, and the just amazing uh, aspects of that, legendary aspects again of that game, and it was an epic Game 7 as well, I think. But in the Big Red Machine, prolonging the Red Sox misery for what turned out to be another 39 years after that. If my math is not too far off. Um, I'm going to take the Reds. I'm going to take the Reds over the Lakers in this one.
I did too. I can't get past team coming back from 3-0 in a game 7, coming back from what happened in game 6, however we want to factor that in, and getting a run in the ninth. And yeah, the bottom of the ninth wasn't that dramatic, a 1-2-3 inning. I got to take that. I got to take the baseball game 7 over a basketball game 7 that was exciting, but 83-79 is not that looks like the end of a third quarter score.
Yeah, yeah.
So when push comes to shove, there, I gotta take the Reds Red Sox for the level of hitters. Maybe not the best pitchers we've ever seen, but the level of hitters in that game. Just the people on the bench or pinch hitting that didn't even start in the game. It's a who's who, and um, with your vote and with my vote, that's enough to send the 2 seed, the World Series, the Reds and the Red Sox, on to the next round. So it was a day for mostly the higher seeds. We had the 1, the 2, the 4, and the 6 win today, and we got one more round of matching of 4 games to get us to our Sweet 16, when we will have some real tough decisions when we're looking at these game sevens.
I was just thinking about how do you when you look at the Reds and the Red Sox, those are some amazing, epic, legendary names: Tony Perez, Pete Rose, Ken Griffey Jr., Joe Morgan, and that's crazy, right? And same thing on the Red Sox side, Rice and Lynn and Fisk. It's these guys are all time legends, even if many of them aren't in the Hall of Fame, or some of them aren't, and Rose obviously won't be for other reasons. Um, you look just taking that up on the Lakers Celtics series. Is Pierce a Hall of Famer? Maybe. Garnett is, right? Ray Allen. I don't know. Kobe's a Hall of
Ray
Famer.
Allen probably, if you're looking just with his 3-point capability, he might be the best
Yeah,
3-point shooter ever.
yeah. I mean, Meta World Peace, Pau Gasol is probably not. Derek Fisher's not. Bynum, Odom. I mean, they're good players. There's maybe a few All
Very
Stars in there, but they're not. They're not all time greats.
no,
Kobe, uh, and Garnett are all time greats.
yes,
Uh, Allen is probably a Hall of Famer. Pierce is a Hall of Famer. That's probably it. I mean, you
yeah.
think each team had at least 3 or 4 Hall of Famers for the Reds and the Red Sox. So that's
Oh,
that
that
plays into it to me too.
I think hey, we're allowed to decide these based on anything we want, and that's that can be a factor. The How exciting the game was. Was it come from behind? Did the road team have a shot? How was the series? That's just like when we're doing the bracket of joy, the bracket of pain. We can factor anything we want in here. There's no war for what was the better game seven. At least we haven't come up with one yet.
The wins above replacement. Yeah, well, you don't
Yeah.
like that stat anyways. I don't know why you're bringing that up.
Well, I'm saying there's nothing like that here. I'm starting to come around to it, but I'm still not sold.
I'm stunned. I am stunned.
When you tell me the average player has a WAR of 2, I'm already dubious.
An average player. Okay. Well, that you got to understand the stat then. Replacement player is somebody like Ron Gardenhire.
Or I could ignore the stat. Either way.
No comment on that.
I don't even think Ron Gardenhire would be offended by that. Yeah, the futility infielder.
Yes, yes.
Well, I started to hear some closing music, but that was my own fault. But we should wrap it up, and I want to wish everybody a happy and safe 4th of July.
Right back at you, Flick. No, bring on the music.
And there's the music. It came jumping in. Take it easy, Dave.
All right, man. Have a good one.